You're 32 years old. You've been married for 4 years. You have a good job. A decent apartment. A little bit of savings. Not a ton, but enough that you don't panic when the check engine light comes on. You and your partner have been talking about kids. Not seriously. Not yet, but the conversations are happening more often. What if we waited 1 more year? What if we waited until we bought a house? What if we waited until we had more saved? Your parents are starting to ask. So, when are we getting grandchildren? Your friends are having kids. Your Instagram feed is full of baby announcements and gender reveals. You feel the pressure, not just from them, from biology, from the clock, from the quiet voice that says, you're not getting any younger. You start doing the math. Daycare is $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 a year. For 1 kid, for 5 years, until they start kindergarten. That's $120,000. Before you even get to diapers and formula and clothes and activities in college. You look at your savings. You look at your income. You look at your timeline. And you think, how do people afford this? But here's the thing you're not thinking about. The cost of kids isn't just the money you spend on them. It's the money you don't earn because you're spending time on them. It's the money you don't save because you're paying for them. It's the compound interest you lose because you're not investing for yourself. And the timing of when you have those kids? That decision, which feels personal and emotional and completely outside the realm of finance? That decision has $1 million impact on your net worth. $1 million, just from choosing to have kids earlier or later. Nobody tells you that. Nobody tells you that the age you become a parent might be the single biggest financial decision you ever make. Hi, what's up? And I spend way too much time thinking about the intersection of parenting and compound interest. Like, probably an unhealthy amount. I've watched friends have kids in their 20s and struggle. I've watched friends have kids in their 40s and struggle differently. And I've done the math on both. If you're someone who's ever wondered when the right time to have kids is, or if you're already a parent wondering if you made the right choice, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because what I'm about to show you might be uncomfortable. It might feel like I'm reducing one of life's most meaningful decisions to a spreadsheet. But I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to understand something that most parents never figure out until it's too late. Now, before we dive in, I want to make something clear. Most people think investing is about having a lot of money. The truth? It's about what you keep. I'm building a community at the Frugal Investor newsletter where we strip away the hype and focus on high-impact, low-cost wealth building. Get your copy of the 15-day blueprint for wealth and financial autonomy and join a group of like-minded investors who prioritize long-term gains over short-term trends. Link is in the description. Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the basic math. Because most people have no idea how much kids actually cost. The USDA did a study. They looked at how much middle-income parents spend on a child from birth to age 18. The number? $233,000. That's not including college. That's not including the cost of lost income from staying home. That's just out-of-pocket spending. $233,000. For 1 kid. For 2 kids, double it. For 3 kids, triple it. Now, let's break that down. $233,000 over 18 years is about $13,000 a year. That's about $1,000 a month. But here's the thing. That's just the average. If you live in a city, it's higher. If you pay for daycare, it's much higher. The average cost of daycare in the US is about $15,000 a year. For 1 kid, for 5 years, until kindergarten. That's $75,000 before the kid even starts school. Now, let's add college. The average cost of a 4-year public university is about $100,000. For a private university, it's double that. For an Ivy League, it's more. So let's add it up. Childcare, $75,000. Expenses through age 18, $233,000. College, $100,000. That's $408,000. For 1 kid, before they turn 22. Now, here's what most people don't realize. That's just the money you spend. The real cost is the money you don't save. This is where it gets really interesting. Because the timing of when you have kids doesn't just affect how much you spend. It affects how much you save. And how much you save affects how much compound interest you get. And compound interest is the engine of wealth. Let's run 2 scenarios. Scenario A. You have kids at 25. Scenario B. You have kids at 35. Same income, same spending, same everything. Just 10 years of difference in when the kids arrive. Scenario A. Kids at 25. You're 25. You just started your career. You're making decent money, but not great. You have a kid. You're paying for diapers and formula and daycare. You're not saving much. Maybe $100 a month. That's all you can afford. You keep saving $100 a month for the next 40 years, until you're 65. At 8% growth, that $100 a month becomes about $300,000. Not nothing, but not a fortune. Scenario B. Kids at 35. You're 25. You don't have kids yet. You're making the same money, but you don't have the expenses. You can save $1,000 a month. Not 100, 1,000. You save that $1,000 a month for 10 years, from 25 to 35. At 8% growth, that's about $180,000. Then you have kids. Your expenses go up. You stop saving. You just let that $180,000 grow. Over the next 30 years, from 35 to 65, that $180,000 grows to about $1.8 million. $1.8 million, without adding another dollar. Now, let's compare. Scenario A. 300,000. Scenario B. 1.8 million. That's $1.5 million difference. From waiting 10 years to have kids. Now, you might be thinking, that's not fair. In scenario B, you assumed the same income but lower expenses. But if you wait, you also have more time to grow your career. And you're right, that's the other part of the equation. When you wait to have kids, you have more time to focus on your career. More time to get promotions. More time to increase your income. More time to save before the expenses hit. So the real difference is even bigger than $1.5 million. It could be 2 million, 3 million, depending on your career trajectory. Let's talk about the career cost. Because this is where the gender gap really shows up. Studies show that mothers experience a motherhood penalty in their careers. They're less likely to be promoted. They're less likely to get raises. They're more likely to leave the workforce entirely. The average woman loses about 15% of her lifetime earnings for each child she has. For a woman who would have earned $2 million over her career, that's $300,000 per child. For 2 kids, $600,000. For 3 kids, $900,000. Fathers, interestingly, experience a fatherhood bonus. They're more likely to be promoted. They're more likely to get raises. They're seen as more committed and stable. The average man's earnings increase by about 6% after having children. But here's the thing. That fatherhood bonus is partially because fathers have partners at home doing the unpaid labor. The mother is the one taking time off for sick days. The mother is the one leaving work early for school pickups. The mother is the one whose career suffers. So the timing matters. If you have kids earlier in your career, you're taking that career hit earlier. When you have less seniority. When you have less leverage. When you have less savings to fall back on. If you have kids later, you have more time to establish yourself. To build your network. To prove your value. To get to a position where you have more flexibility, more support, more resources. That's the time arbitrage. You're trading the biological clock for the compound interest clock. And the compound interest clock is more forgiving. Now, let's talk about the psychology. Because this is where it gets really interesting. There's a reason people have kids earlier. It's not just biology. It's not just pressure from parents. It's not just FOMO when your friends start having babies. It's because waiting is hard. Waiting requires discipline. Waiting requires delaying gratification. Waiting requires sacrificing the joy of having a child now for the financial security of having a child later. And humans are terrible at delaying gratification. There's a famous study, the marshmallow experiment. They gave kids a marshmallow and told them they could have one now, or 2 if they waited 15 minutes. The kids who waited did better in school, had higher incomes, were healthier. The kids who ate the marshmallow immediately? They struggled. Having kids is the ultimate marshmallow test. Do you have the child now, when you're young and energetic but financially insecure? Or do you wait, when you're older and more stable but have less energy? There's no right answer, but there is a financial answer. And the financial answer is clear. Waiting is worth millions. Let me tell you about 2 people. Let's call them Jenna and Michelle. Jenna had her first kid at 25. She loved being a young mom. She had energy. She had flexibility. Her parents were young enough to help with childcare. But she also struggled. She was early in her career. She didn't have much savings. She and her husband lived paycheck to paycheck for years. They couldn't afford to invest. They couldn't afford to buy a house. They couldn't afford to save for college. Now Jenna is 45. Her kids are teenagers. She's finally able to start saving for retirement. But she's got 20 years left until retirement, not 40. She's behind. She'll probably have to work until 70. Michelle had her first kid at 35. She spent her 20s focused on her career. She got promoted. She got raises. She saved aggressively. By the time she had her first kid, she had $200,000 in investments. She kept working. She kept saving. Not as much, because daycare is expensive. But her $200,000 kept growing. By the time her kid was 10, it had grown to over $400,000. By the time her kid was 18, it was over $800,000. Michelle is now 50. She has over $1 million in investments. She could retire today if she wanted to. She's not going to, but she could. Jenna and Michelle both love their kids. Both are great moms. Both have happy families. But Michelle has $1 million that Jenna doesn't. Because Michelle waited 10 years. Alright, so you're thinking about having kids. Or you're thinking about when to have them. How do you make this decision? How do you balance the financial math with the emotional reality? Here's the action plan. Step 1. Run your numbers. Calculate what you could save if you waited 5 years. 10 years. 15 years. Use an investment calculator. See the difference. It's probably millions. Don't make this decision in the dark. See the numbers. Let them inform your choice. Step 2. Consider your career trajectory. Are you early in your career? Do you have room to grow? Promotions to earn? Raises to get? If yes, waiting might be worth it. Those early years are when you build your earning potential. If you're already at the top of your field, if you're not going to earn much more, then the career cost of having kids now is lower. Step 3. Consider your support system. Do you have family nearby who can help with childcare? That's worth tens of thousands of dollars a year. If you have support, having kids earlier is less expensive. If you don't have support, if you're going to be paying for full-time daycare, waiting might make more sense. Step 4. Consider your health. This is the hard one. Fertility declines with age. For women, it starts declining at 30, drops more at 35, and drops significantly at 40. For men, the decline is slower, but it's real. So there's a trade-off. Financial security versus biological reality. And only you can make that trade-off. Step 5. Make a conscious choice. Whatever you decide, make it consciously. Don't just have kids because that's what you do. Don't just wait because you're not ready. Make a choice. With your eyes open. With the math on the table. Because the cost of an unconscious choice is millions. I want to end with a thought about trade-offs. Because that's what this is. A trade-off. Having kids earlier gives you more energy. More time with your kids. More time with your grandkids, if you have them. It gives you the joy of young parenthood. Having kids later gives you more money. More security. More options. It gives you the peace of mind that comes from financial stability. There's no right answer. There's only your answer. But here's what I know. Most people don't make this choice consciously. They just have kids. Or they just wait. They don't run the numbers. They don't consider the trade-offs. They don't think about the compound interest of their decision. And that's a mistake. Because this decision, more than almost any other, determines your financial future. So run the numbers. Consider the trade-offs. Make a conscious choice. And then, whatever you decide, own it. Don't regret it. Just live with it. Because kids are wonderful. They're the best thing that ever happens to most people. But they're also expensive. And the timing of when you have them matters. Don't let that timing be an accident. I really hope this video brought you some value today. If it did, comment more down below. I'm reading through those to decide what topics to cover next, so definitely let me know if you want more of this. Look, here's the bottom line. Having kids earlier costs you millions in compound interest. Having kids later costs you energy and maybe fertility. There's no right answer, but there is a conscious choice. Don't let biology make the decision for you. Don't let pressure from your parents make the decision for you. Don't let FOMO make the decision for you. Run the numbers. Consider your career. Consider your support system. Consider your health. And then make a choice. A conscious choice. A choice you understand. Because that's what financial freedom is about. Not just having money. Having options. Having the ability to choose the life you want to live. And that includes choosing when to have kids. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.